Can we just do the up to B? Yeah, straight away. So play the beginning of B. The Four Seasons seemed like a good choice for this project because it's material we know. It's kind of part of our sort of musical landscape. I wanted to make the piece because I love the Vivaldi, you know. So it was my way of having a conversation with Vivaldi. That was great.
You know, it's one of the most recorded pieces of literature, I think, of any piece. But to do a recomposed version of The Four Seasons, that's really interesting.
I decided to rewrite the score on a note level, which meant re-recording it with an orchestra. And for me, that just let me really get inside it and really sort of start to work with the alchemy of the material itself, and just gave me much more scope in terms of what I could do with it. You know, having made the decision to recompose The Four Seasons, I was really spoilt for choice. You know, it's such a fantastic piece. And I just kind of went through it, picking my favorite bits and kind of turning those up and making new objects out of those. It was just kind of like a sculptor, you know, having fantastic raw material and just kind of putting it together in a way which kind of pleased me.
From here, data. It's faster than we did it, but yeah, maybe back off a fraction. But I liked it. It's bright.
The recording side of it started, you know, with me making a new score. You know, just hundreds of pages of dots in the normal way, and then we started to work with Andre and Daniel on, you know, making that come alive. And once you get the people in the room, human beings, onto the material, you get a whole extra dimension which you really can't really predict.
So I was approached by Max himself to conduct the sessions that would contribute to the Recomposed series of Vivaldi's Four Seasons. And when I saw the first drafts and examples of the score, I knew this was kind of the way I always wanted to hear this concerto, and therefore I was very happy to see the process that was involved.
Yeah. And it'll be nice. I mean, the piece is pretty radical with the material. I mean, I've probably thrown away, you know, 3/4 of the notes, but I've kept the gestures and the shape and the textures and the dynamics of the Vivaldi.
I keep expecting to go dee-da-dum-dum-dum, ba-da-dim, but
it should really, shouldn't it?
There are a number of big differences between the original Vivaldi and what Max Richter has done.
So we go 99, please.
At the same time, he's conserved the elements of this piece, what makes the season so incredible. And he's taken moments of it, and it's as if he's put it through a time machine, and he's brought it into the 21st century.
Yeah, the Vivaldi is a kind of pattern-based music, and it almost reminds me a little bit of systems music and kind of minimal music from the 60s and 70s. And that kind of locks into the kind of thing I do anyway. So it seemed like there was a kind of a natural bridge there.
Right, much better. Yeah, Max, this is crazy. This with the 70 and 72, they do dagga 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 dagga. Are we?
I mean, it's 2012, so I've looked at the piece from my perspective, which is a kind of, you know, the perspective of somebody who's heard minimal music, who's heard electronica, who's heard post-rock, and has been involved in all those things. So, you know, I brought me in 2012 to that piece.
think that's one of the great things about Max's version, or composition we should say, is that it goes to the soul of the piece. And as a result, we learn not just about a new concerto, but we learn about the Vivaldi as well.